Oh, this is, I'm living in hell, bros.
1, 2, 3.
Okay, so last episode, while I was editing it, because it was all just ragging on Carney for not doing what Superman do, which is recognize Palestine.
Yeah.
And as I published it, I'm going to hit the button, pop up on my phone. 34 minutes ago, Carney says he's probably going to be recognizing Palestine.
Probably is
like,
a strong word.
Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, that sucks. That's kind of annoying considering I'm about to publish something saying he's not going to do it. Go to sleep, wake up the next day. Video pops up. We're still selling munitions to Israel. So we're kind of back on that front. For a second I doubted, and then I remembered that they're all in on this. But the situation has developed. And about an hour ago, I'm just going to read a CBC article just in case anyone here has not checked up on it, because it was only about an hour ago and we've been doing audio setup for 6 hours. Canada plans to recognize Palestinian state in September. For some reason, they need a delay. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada will recognize a Palestinian state in September if the West Bank's governing body agrees to certain conditions. The Prime Minister said the Palestinian Authority must hold an election in 2026 and commit to other democratic reforms. One of these democratic reforms is that the main party in Gaza, which is Hamas, cannot be a part of the election, which is a very funny thing because I don't like Hamas. I'll understand how they came to be in the position they're in and, I guess, appreciate that.
Yes. I think you can support Hamas more than Israel, but being actually I'm pro-Hamas generally is a level of deranged campism that I don't think we can even endorse.
Yeah. Unless you're just mid-argument, just getting absolutely heated on someone, and you, just spit that shit out, in which case, you're allowed to abuse some shit when you're angry.
When you're arguing with chuds, it's allowed.
But
I will say though now, Hamas is the only sensible center-left party apart from the Chinese Communist Party.
So true.
It is the most Western thing to be we need to bring democracy to an area. Also, the biggest party there cannot be part of that democracy.
Yeah. Hamas is not some fringe thing. Public polling of Palestinians in the West Bank puts Hamas at the most popular political party since October 7th. They were the second most before that, after Fatah, the actual governing party of the Palestinian Authority. So effectively, we be banning people, 60% of the Palestinian electorate, from casting their ballots for who they actually want to win.
Well, Spenny, just to fix something you said, you were asking why the Prime Minister is waiting a month. They're planning to fully recognize Palestine at the UN General Assembly to make a big showing of it. Yeah. And so that happens in September every year.
Yeah, it's at the same time as France and the UK.
Who also are doing bullshit
I thought
demands.
France said that they were going to do it no matter what.
No, France said, I think Macron said Macron said he wanted a demilitarized Palestine, which of course means a entirely defenseless Palestine. Sir Kidstarver himself said he would he specifically said, Israel, if you don't stop the genocide, I will recognize Palestine in September, which is insane to say. If you stop the genocide, I won't recognize the state that you're genociding, but if you don't, I will.
That was one of the things that I really highlighted was don't make me recognize that Palestinians are people. It's the weirdest finger wag that I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, one thing though, so there's a whole list of demands, but the demands are so draconian that it's put yourself in the shoes of Palestine. Why would you want to be recognized by Canada in exchange for these things? What could Canada possibly give to you in exchange for this level of submission to Israel?
Yeah, most of the world already...
What's the other conditions, apart from the Hamas one?
So most of the world already recognizes Palestine. It's just the West that are holding on. So what they would have to do is completely demilitarize all of Palestine.
That's crazy.
Note
That's
that
crazy.
Here's an idea.
Is the one doing all of this, and Israel would not have to demilitarize.
Right, but also demilitarizing Palestine actually would mean the IDF would have to leave as the only real armed forces in the West Bank.
That's interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Well, they do have the Palestinian Security Service, but that is functionally a police arm of the Israeli colonial state in the West Bank.
They would have to release all of the hostages, which is but if they're they have nothing, they would be completely defenseless. There would be nothing for them to hold against Israel for doing this for a month and then just going right back in.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Yeah.
What does recognition mean?
Nothing.
Like, practically speaking.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Literally, what would Palestine gain from doing any of this stuff? What does Canadian recognition even mean to them?
Yeah, it's a way for, as much as it, should happen, which it should happen.
But we know international law is dead, so at this point it doesn't really mean anything. Apart from, it's like a nice gesture, and, it freaks out the United States and Israel.
It's just Western governments acknowledging that Palestinians, are people for the most part.
Because I know Spain and Ireland, I believe, last year.
Spain, Ireland, and Norway.
But
yes.
Norway, but what does that mean? Now that Norway recognizes them, what happened?
Not much. Well, I mean, a lot has happened. Just not much good has happened. I guess it is just kind of a sign that shows, we all know that Western liberals don't actually care to solve a lot of this stuff, but this is a shine to of showing that even Western liberals have now found the conditions that they're forced to just see completely intolerable. So much of this was happening, so much brutality has been happening for so long, but now Western liberals are forced to see pictures of starving children on social media, and they don't want to do that. And I guess this is what that shows, is even the liberals are willing to do as much of a concession as liberals can come up with.
It is the classic centrist smarminess of being I have to find a way to make both of these people the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm reading the BBC on what does recognizing Palestinian state means. The answer was diplomatic missions. You can compete in the Olympics officially, and it's hugely symbolic.
Palestine already competes in the Olympics, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, it's just symbolic.
Yeah.
Trump says that recognizing Palestine rewards Hamas, which is very funny because they recognize Israel. So they're he's just kind of saying that he is already rewarding this. Yeah, effectively what I got out of this was that in order for the West to recognize Palestine as a state, Palestine has to effectively agree to the fact that they will cease to exist any moment. They'll have to put themselves in an even more precarious situation than they're in now, which is pretty horribly precarious because we know that Israel will break any ceasefire that happens. Keir Starmer said they need to do a ceasefire. We've seen how many ceasefires so far, and every single time Israel just goes right back in. So Palestine will demilitarize. They will get rid of all of their munitions and all of that, and then guaranteed there will be a ceasefire, and Israel will just attack after because all they do is break ceasefires. And even in this whole thing, they're only ever talking about the violence of Hamas and how Hamas needs to stop doing all of the terror that they're doing, and no one has mentioned the terror that Israel is doing or any of that. It's incredibly one-sided still. It's still blaming Palestinians kind of for their conditions, and it's pretty shit. But there is one thing that I've thought about in this, which is, let's say that we do recognize Israeli war crimes, because they're slowly, at an absolutely glacial pace, hinting towards the fact that they're starting to recognize that Israel is doing stuff wrong, where it used to be oh yeah, the conditions in Gaza are bad and should stop, and they wouldn't do anything. Now they're saying that Israel needs to stop denying aid, which goes to say that Israel is denying aid. So if U.S. client states are able to face repercussions for their war crimes. What happens now? Because that's the whole point of being a U.S. client state, is that you could be a fascist dictator, murder every communist in your country, and America would look away and guarantee you diplomatic immunity.
Sorry, fact check. This is a real tweet by Israel, by the way, mate. Mm-hmm. A real man, a fake claim. 41-year-old Mohammed al-Hassanat didn't die of starvation. He suffered from untreated diabetes and died from complications of severe hypercatabolism. Which, by the way, is when you're diabetic and you don't have insulin, so your body can't break down glucose for energy, so it eats every other tissue in your body instead. So it's like...
He died of starvation.
He died of almost an infinitely more painful way of dying of starvation. Mm-hmm. So fact checked, please.
Fact check. He didn't die of starvation. He just died of, like, mega starvation.
Yeah, but his image is now being used to smear Israel. That was a real tweet about the AIDS situation in Israel.
What was that tweet from Liam? You would know this one, where a guy was like, "Oh, we just met with America and agreed that we should start bombing AIDS sites." And it was from, like, an Israeli minister.
Was it Smotrich or
No,
Gavir?
it was Ben-Gvir.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think, yeah. I can't remember if I posted that to the chat. I think I did. Yeah, it was a Ben-Gvir tweet where he's like, bombing aid sites is, like, a necessity in this war. Let me see if I can find that fucking screenshot. That was... I mean, it didn't surprise me. Nothing surprises me anymore with this fucking atrocity. But, like... It still is a kind of moment where you just see, like, they just are like, okay, we're just gonna say it.
Yeah, well, go.
Okay.
This has been a consistent thing the whole time. Go read the tweets that they do that aren't in English, and you'll be stunned.
Yes, this is a tweet translated when you do the auto translate from Hebrew to English, and there is a joke on Twitter that, like, translating Hebrew tweets into English is like finding a new lost page of Mein Kampf.
Yeah.
When they're talking about Palestinians. So this is the Ben-Gvir tweet translated into English. I had the honor and privilege of meeting with senior Republican Party officials at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. They expressed support for my very clear position on how to act in Gaza and that the food and aid depots should be bombed in order to create military and political pressure to bring our hostages home safely. Oh, yes, we also talked about No Other Land on this podcast, right? After we watched it.
Yeah.
One of the filmmakers has been shot dead in the West Bank by an Israeli settler, and that settler is currently on house arrest after being moved from prison by an Israeli court.
Yeah, he was pretty much instantly, not completely freed, but not in jail. That's
and
sure.
I, like, literally saw the shooting video on Twitter. It's like this freak firing wildly with a handgun within, like, 5 meters of the man who was shot dead.
We saw that in No Other Land too, right? Like, that was
there was other instances. This time it was a lot closer.
Yeah, because we saw in No Other Land, one of the last things they show was the guy's cousin just getting, like, point blank shot in the stomach by just a random settler.
Yeah.
And they're all trying to, like, help him out, but the settlers are just, like, gunning people down.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, like, point and shoot at them, but just constantly spraying in their direction, because I think
this was a definite point and shoot. Mm-hmm. In the video, this settler scumbag has a handgun, shoots in the air, and then puts down and shoots at the man he killed, and the man's name was Auda Hadalan, and he was a secondary school teacher in the West Bank.
And this is the West Bank. I think, like, a lot of people, I can't imagine at this point, like, seeing what's happening in Palestine and still thinking it's worth it. I mean, the stats don't show that most people are the case, but for, like, I guess the 20% of people who still believe that Israel is doing the right thing, like, remove Gaza or Hamas out of the situation and just look at what's going on the West Bank, where they literally arm settlers, and the settlers use those arms to kill Palestinians as they're taking their land.
Since October 7th, there's been an increasingly rapid escalation of settler violence, because Ben-Gvir, that Nazi minister whose tweet I just read off, is like this internal security minister who has been busy building like a parallel military apparatus. He's functionally a minister
The
with
Israeli SS.
Yes, he is functionally in control, or is a minister in charge of the military alongside the Minister of Defense. I can't remember exactly in what capacity, but there was like a recent Chapo episode where they interviewed a journalist who did a lot of research on the West Bank and spent time in the West Bank. But since October 7th, Ben Gvir has distributed literally like thousands of guns, like mostly like rifles, to West Bank settlers, who then use them to go on these pogroms against Palestinians. And many times also including military uniforms or clothing that almost looks indistinguishable from military fatigues. So oftentimes you will have like these drunk indigent youths show up in like military uniforms and guns, shoot a bunch of Palestinians, and then never get like any sort of repercussions in an attempt to like drive more Palestinians away through fear.
I think the support, like, there's people that don't know anything, and there's a lot of people that are like, we should stop slaughtering Palestinians. I think the core fan base for Israel, their core of support, is just leftovers from like people who didn't ever realize that the war in like Iraq and all of that was just like a sham. And like everything post 9/11 was just a sham, and they just like hate anyone that could be Muslim with every single fiber of their being, because look what they did to this beautiful country, because they're just stuck the day after 9/11. I think that's it, and I think that's a shockingly large amount of Americans.
This is a sort of an insane sidetrack, but Liam, did you hear about Ben Gvir being attacked by anti-Zionist Jews in Israel?
No.
In May 2025, Ben Gvir and his wife were attacked by anti-Zionist Jews of the Neturei Karta while they were visiting in Beit Shemesh, which is in Israel, when he called on the police to report Palestinian flags painted on the side of a building.
Okay, this is gonna have to be bleep.
Neturei Karta is a Jewish anti-Zionist organization in Jerusalem, primarily active in parts of Israel, established by Haredi Jews. They are militant.
Oh, the Haredi. Oh my god,
militant, ultra-Orthodox, anti-Zionist Jews.
yes. I'm familiar with these guys. Some of them actually. So all of them are like, I think, like Ashkenazi, but some of them like moved either, I think, a while before the establishment of like the earliest Zionist colonies in Palestine during the first Aliyah. I think some of their ancestors arrived in like the 1840s, and they've been like very anti-Zionist, like from the get-go, and like constantly are in fights with the Israeli police. And you see like these videos of like these like ultra-Orthodox like white Jewish guys fighting Israeli police and getting like beaten up and dragged around by them.
Neturei Karta endorses a one-state solution in which the Palestinian people assume Israel.
It's also funny because like there are like weirdo right-wing religious guys in like in a lot of the senses of the words, and they hate like Zionism on religious grounds because they like say that like
the Messiah needs to restore Israel.
The Messiah needs to restore Israel, and Zionism is the worship of a state, not God.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's nationalism, so that's just kind of how it goes.
Okay. Neturei Karta endorses a form of the one-state solution in which the Palestinian people assume control of Israel. So,
I think one thing that I've been thinking about is that, like, there's this whole thing about Israelis just being like, I have this connection to the land of Israel, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm Jewish.
Yeah.
I have this connection to the land, but that's not real. Like, it's not a physical thing. If they were born and adopted or something like that and never found out that they were Jewish or anything, their bodies wouldn't be, like, yearning to go to Israel or anything like that. They'd just be, like, living their own life wherever they are, doing whatever they want. It's like, so that's one thing that's just not there. Israel's got to go like the way of Rhodesia. I don't know all the details of that. All I know is there's. It is clearly lost the plot. All it does is war crimes. Its existence is war crimes at this point. That's the mindset for the one state solution where it's all just Palestine.
Okay.
I guess the major difference is that unlike the apartheid states of Rhodesia and South Africa, Israel, through like almost 80 years of genocide, has reached like population parity with Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, at least until we know the full death count of Gaza, the Palestinian and Israeli populations of historic Palestine are like something like 50-50, with like pre-genocide numbers showing that Palestinians would like outnumber Israelis within like current day Israel and the West Bank. So there was like huge like demographic panics about that. So like I don't know exactly how it's gonna break down in like a 50-50 split state, but it's gonna be messy to say the least. But I still think like a single secular democratic state is like the best solution.
Yeah, given
in an ideal world.
Given this whole history, I mean, maybe it's just because I don't have like the imagination for it or whatever fucking Mark Fisher would say. But like there hasn't been a time where Israel has not existed with this happening. And I really struggle to find a way that it will start to exist without this. Given the fact that, like, we already know in our coverage they've invaded, like, several other countries within the last year alone. The plan isn't even to stop at Palestine. They're not just going for that. It continues. So I don't know how they're just gonna be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna stop all of that. I mean, yeah, if they're saying that Gaza needs a new government and Hamas can't run, how can you not also conclude that Israel needs a fundamental new government, new constitution, everything from the ground up? In which case, you may as well just have one state where you actually have like a government that respects everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, what can you, well, that's yeah, it's there's a fine road to walk here where it seems like either every Palestinian is going to be killed or like Israel is going to be there's going to be an orgy of violence against Jews in Israel. Those are the two things that could happen.
Yeah.
There's a knife's edge that ends with a secular state where everyone is respected citizens of this unified Palestine. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't seem like that is a realistic outcome relative to the most likely outcome of all Palestinians are killed, the second less likely outcome of all Israelis are killed, and then this very narrow future in which they coexist.
What are those shirts that like Fantana wears? What are those called again? The flannel. I think you need a flannel shaped pattern.
Yeah.
Right? Where all of one color is purely one religious state, right? All of the other color are purely the other religious state, and all the crossover is a third secular religious state where everything is equal in a perfect crisscross fashion across the entire area. I think that's the way...
The infinite state solution.
A new state for every block.
Yeah, the Mandelbrot state solution. As you zoom in on Palestine, more and more Palestines appear.
Is there a path to a South Africa style integration or no?
Brother, I think even the South Africa style path has kind of failed.
Yeah,
well,
I mean, if
the thing is,
we still have the Boers owning like over 85% of all farmland in South Africa, despite the fact that they make up like I think under 12% of the population.
And Zimbabwe did land reform that expropriated a large portion of the farmland, and it still didn't even work out.
Although Zimbabwe did it in a very weird, like, I'm just gonna like give white-owned land to like party loyalists.
Well, Zimbabwe had other problems.
Yes.
Like the fact that Mugabe's government was basically like a tribal interest party for his specific faction of the native population. But also like it is very difficult for a country to come back from apartheid. successfully, no matter what path they take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, it's good.
I mean, just look at the United States.
What,
like
30 years ago, that's still very little time. They made a lot of big progress.
Yeah.
From what it was.
Although, of course, like I think isn't it a majority of the black population in South Africa also lives in poverty? I think it's like 62%.
South Africa still has extreme racial inequality. It still has a lot of the issues of apartheid. The government is like highly dysfunctional. It barely has a functioning power grid that is constantly suffering brownouts, where large portions of the country have no power for extended periods of time. It's just not it's just really difficult for a country to come back from apartheid, and no one's managed it yet.
I think, I frankly do not see a good solution happening where it's like Hamas or whatever is the government. I do not see a good way forward as long as the state of Israel as it is continuing to exist. Like, you kind of need to rebuild everything from the ground up, which isn't going to happen. The only obvious first start is to recognize that Palestinians have the right to live. And
more than that they have a right
to be asymptotically approaching but never quite getting to that step.
But also that they have a right to defend themselves from Israeli aggression.
Yeah.
Which a lot of the West seems to hinge their support for Palestine on that not being a thing. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, these calls that Palestine must unilaterally disarm and allow Israel to run roughshod over the whole country.
Okay. Here's a cut. Cleanest potential way forward. I might have to bleep myself on this one.
Yeah, just go ahead and get it out.
Get Iran nukes.
Oh.
Is that the best start for the way forward?
Bleep this one too. Give Hamas nukes.
That honestly probably
as like an give Hamas nukes, because that would be, I think, it wouldn't Cold War it.
No, it would not. Giving Hamas nukes would mean that both Israel and Palestine would be nuked within 24 hours.
That's a zero-state solution.
Yeah, that's a zero-people solution to the conflict, is give Hamas nukes.
Yeah, I guess
this is a complete aside, but have you seen that National Geographic article saying that we should the best way to stop climate change is nuclear winter?
That is an insane take.
That was a Nat Geo.
But also, all right, step 1, get nukes flying. Give Hamas nukes. All right, step 2, we'll get nuclear winter pretty quick.
Wasn't this the plot of Icebreaker? No, the one where it's Chris Evans. He's on a train. Snowpiercer. Yeah, that's the plot of Snowpiercer. Is they accidentally go too far within the cloud seeding, and it freezes the world. But the thing with nuclear winter is that it's temporary, so there would still be all the carbon and methane around. It would release a shitload of carbon and methane, and then like it would just at best it would put a temporary halt on emissions. Unless you wiped out all of the human race, we would eventually recover and begin emitting again. Also, it's sort of like people whose solution to capitalism is we need to bring back the New Deal. It's like the New Deal got us to this point.
I'm not sure if this is going to be one of those things where it's like, based on the composition of aerosols and stuff like that, or the amount of aerosols in high orbit reflecting sunlight, which would cause like large amounts of cooling and stuff. But the secret to that is that, and this is a proposed solution for climate change, is to just start spraying massive amounts of aerosols into like
cloud seeding.
Yeah.
This is like a reflect the sun back out solution.
It, I guess, might technically cool the temperatures a little bit temporarily for as long as we're doing it. So like, but it will all instantly revert the second we stop. It also, I can only imagine, would drastically increase cancer rates and a ton of other diseases that we haven't studied yet because of this. But also, it just causes massive famines in Southeast Asia and Africa, which means that it's a perfect solution for the West. And in classic Western tradition, we would just be devastating the rest of the world while we try to barely fix something in a very temporary solution. Yeah, we would just destroy their agriculture.
It was not National Geographic. I don't want to they said it would be bad, but theoretically could work. I think it was.
Mhm.
But they were negative about it.
But an interesting plot point, nonetheless. Get Hamas nukes.
Anyways, let's move on.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. This is not a happy story. We just left a not happy story. All right, so there was Bennett, do you want to do the hockey holes situation? A brief summary first.
We should probably. This is something we're gonna have to be careful with, I think. But so in 2018, a woman went back to a hotel room with a hockey player associated with the junior team of Hockey Canada. When she arrived, several other men, 4 other men total, so 5 men, also entered the hotel room, and she claimed that they engaged in group sex. She was basically gang raped, is what she claimed, right? So she filed a complaint with the local police. The police investigated and decided that there was no evidence that a rape had occurred. She complained to Hockey Canada and sued Hockey Canada. Hockey Canada settled out of court rather than adjudicate it in civil court. Once this was revealed, there was public outcry against the police for not charging the men. The men were then charged. 7 years later, 2025, the case was resolved after years and years in the courts. The jury was dismissed for lack of impartiality, and it became a judge-only case. And the judge's final verdict was not guilty. The judge accused the alleged victim of perjury, more or less. Not outright, because there are actual legal consequences to perjury, but the judge in her statement claims that the victim basically lied on the stand. Not in the legal sense, but implied that it was the case. The judge also, because there's stuff relevant to what you're probably going to say next. The judge also said that the preponderance of evidence in the case was that the men, not only were the men not guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, the judge also claims the men are almost certainly innocent, citing video evidence that the woman was not intoxicated, consented to group sex before the act, and affirmed consent after it had occurred. As well as texts between the alleged victim and her friends after the fact. The judge basically chastised the prosecution for wasting the court's time. Now, the outcome of this case raises a lot of questions. It exposed to a lot of people that Hockey Canada actually has actively coaches players on how to beat rape accusations because of how many people hockey players rape in Canada. I'm sure anyone who knows... Sorry, Shrey?
No, I think that's crazy, just wondering.
Yeah, the Hockey Canada instructs players to film sex partners before and after the act, to record a consent before and that a consent had been consistent throughout the sex act. Hockey Canada also had built a fund to basically pay out complainants accusing Hockey Canada members of sexual assault. So the reaction to this case has been mixed, to say the least. A lot of people believe that these hockey players basically got away with sexual assault, and a lot of people are questioning how exactly consent can be proved or disproved in a court of law.
Yeah, so that's where I want to jump in, because at one point I had a whole article written about consent that I decided not to publish because it just seemed weird to publish something like that. But one thing that I'm definitely sympathetic to is like the whole believe the victim and stuff like that, always go in with that belief, and that a verdict like this with the judge kind of chastising in the way that it happened,
it's kind of inappropriate.
Yeah, it's inappropriate and probably doesn't help with like women who may have been sexually assaulted or men who may have been sexually assaulted and are like, it's an extremely vulnerable position to be in, to expose yourself publicly in saying something like this happened and then effectively open yourself into a full investigation into open yourself up into like a full investigation of everything that's happened. It's just kind of not a great place to be fundamentally. And just kind of one of the things that I wanted to hone into with this is the fact that like our legal system is incredibly poor at handling how consent is like established, because it's a lot of what our system does is it establishes things as, Bennett, what's the thing for moment, not continuous,
Affirmative.
not necessarily consent, just in general. Consent is continuous. It's not something that can be established before and after.
Yeah.
But if you're trying to beat a case, something before and after could probably be used, but then you end up with, obviously, after I was pressured because I was in an uncomfortable spot, or before I was in an uncomfortable spot. You end up with
during, because I was like,
yeah.
One of the complainant alleged that she recorded her consent after the fact because she felt under duress.
Yeah.
But like, how soon after the fact was it recorded?
I don't know.
Because
presumably,
I'm moving.
After.
Okay, I want to move beyond this case specific in general, because I feel like any specific case for this is like, I guess personally, it's just not something that I want to like put myself in the way of. But like, yeah, you can't do like any formalized contracts because things can always change. Like body language can change and stuff like that. I know a lot of people were complaining about the thing of before and after and how weird that is and how like dumb that is. And on one hand, yes, but on the other hand, for our legal system, it's like a perfect solution. And then also there's all these little things like intoxication and consent. Like, you're supposed to not be intoxicated, but how often do people meet by going out for drinks or something like that? Or what if you go out to have some drinks because you want to do something? Are you still not allowed to, even though you effectively consented to consenting while you were sober and getting intoxicated or something like that? It just, our legal system's way of handling consent is bullshit. Probably the best way you could go about doing this in our legal system is having every single sexual encounter recorded from start to back and then saved by both parties, which is also terrible because do you want everyone to have sex videos of you all the time for any encounter you may have? And also would just mean that courts would be up to like body language analysts if something goes wrong.
Well, okay, so in general, the legal system doesn't fully understand how consent works, because in general, like, we don't still really understand how consent works. Like men and just like people in society in general still don't really understand how consent works. Mm-hmm. And so, like, for a situation like this, I don't know that the court is considering, like, to me it seems like they're seeing things as black or white, and like the idea of the consent was recorded so it was fine. Like, there's other things that come into play. There's the fact that these guys were hockey players and professional hockey players who are paid a lot of money and have a lot of influence and power, and versus
not paid a lot, these amateurs.
Say again?
No, some of them were NHL players by the time the case concluded. I don't think they were NHL players in 2018, but they became them later.
Yeah. Versus...
But during the consent act of it, they were not... They're not that famous.
Right, but I think it's irrelevant if they're pro or amateur hockey players. This is sort of something that happens in Canada and the United States with football. When there's a sport that becomes like a religion to the local people, the people who are very good at that sport can get away with anything.
Yeah.
I see.
Sorry, Nick. No. I think that was okay.
I mean, there's a lot of sex assault with football players in the U.S., but also I think the Georgia University football players, who are not professional football players, have between them like 20 DUIs on the active roster right now.
Damn.
They keep getting released because they're good at football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there was an entire situation with that swimmer a couple years ago, so yeah, totally makes sense.
Yeah, so there's a lot of other parts surrounding like the sexual, like actually having sex, that don't necessarily have to do with the yes or the no's that influence why people say yes or no. And like recording, I mean, even like you said, I understand why you might think that may be a solution, because both parties are continuously like, you know, are able to continuously like say one thing or the other during the time. But even then, like, I don't know. It's a complex complex topic. It's complicated.
If we're gonna treat hockey, football, and in the rest of the world soccer like a parallel religion, we should force its players legally to be monks. No sex ever. Apparently, the Raiders, I forget, the Raiders cut player for kissing guy. Christian Wilkins fired after kissing teammate against his will. So apparently there's this, the Raiders said that they've had this athlete, Christian Wilkins, who's gone a little bit crazy. And this sort of leads into our another
CTE.
Another story we have about guys driven insane by football. But Christian Wilkins apparently has been a little bit hypersexual in the Raiders locker room, and
he's sundowning early.
It's gotten to the point where the Raiders are like, you can't be around your teammates because you're making them intensely uncomfortable and grabbing at them and kissing them and stuff. So, I mean, most football fans' reaction to this has been, it's funny, this guy's acting gay. but it's just another case of like, people getting really severe brain damage from professional football.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is
this guy got hit on
brain
the head.
damage turns you gay.
Okay, let me wrap up the previous story just by saying I think that one of the lessons that is just very exposed by the story is that like the legal system has kind of like failed with consent as like a whole topic.
Yeah.
Thing is that how would you repair consent legally?
This is one of those things where I've thought about it, I've meditated on it, and it's like you kind of have to do this in like a very social, like anarchist fantasy kind of way, where things are much more like community oriented, and it's impossible to have something like this in an atomized society. And if I was really to try to go hard, probably also like a capitalist society, if you're doing contract shit, if everything is based on contracts like that, you're already cooked. I don't think it's possible beyond that. I don't think there's like a perfect solution, but I think there are far better like methods of handling than 7 years in a court system to try to make something happen that may or may not happen.
This is something I said a while back, but there is something to be said about where we don't follow the spirit of the laws, we generally follow the wording of the law, where it has led to a legal system that's focused more on loopholes versus actually trying to create a just society.
Yeah,
I think that's a good way of putting it.
Actually, yeah, that's the same thing that happened in the Puff case, where, like, I don't know, the state was essentially using racist laws that have racist precedents to go after Puff, who, while, you know, maybe there is some racism in the legal system, absolutely did fucked up shit and should have been convicted on some of those things. But
yeah, it's about the spirit, right? There's reasons we built this law, and it's not, we don't encapsulate everything people say because people are fallible at the end of the day, but we generally understand what the context and what the reasoning why it was. But everybody's now focused on loopholes, and has led to this weird system where that's the most important part of law as a whole. It's not the actual law itself.
Okay, well, I think, Shrey, what you want probably is that we adopt civil law as a code, which I guess generally agree with. Because what we have right now is called common law, which is based on establishment of precedent, whereas civil law is interpreted freshly every time.
So I guess the question for us is, how's things in Quebec?
I don't know.
I mean, they recently decided that all trans people in women in prison in Quebec would be like forcibly put in
men's prison.
Prisons not correlating with their gender identity in response to the fact that there is a single transgender prisoner in a woman's prison in Quebec.
You are about to see some of the largest, most muscular men in history in women's prisons.
Like,
it is kind of crazy how like almost all of the trans men I have seen in my life have like so much more body hair than me.
Yeah,
it's the T-boy magic.
Yeah, you're taking testosterone. Testosterone is the base steroid. And also, if you're taking a little bit of testosterone and getting jacked, and this is no hate because I'm broadly pro-steroid, take a little bit more and get even more jacked, It's like we're already on this ship. You may as well sail it a little bit, have a little bit of fun. Because of that, you're about to get so many jacked and stacked dudes in women's prisons.
The idea
this is the result.
I will say I need to double check if that only applies to trans women, but I think it was general, no matter what kind of thing. But it is insane that they made this single decision upon the fact that in the entire Quebec provincial prison system, there is one transgender trans woman inmate who transitioned while imprisoned. So, I mean, this isn't to impinge on her, but she's in prison for annihilating her family.
Yeah.
Look, whatever.
But they're like, we're going to put this woman in a man's prison now.
This is what's fucking me up. Like, you make a whole decision. Is this province-wide?
It's province-wide.
For one fucking person. Like, even if... Imagine you being the sole person for a law that, like, just for everyone. Like, this is insane.
This is the whole thing about trans hysteria for me. I remember, like, because I do sports, and I'm in a sport that is, like, I guess I don't want to dox myself too hard, but I'm in a sport where it's like, yeah, it's a co-ed sport. You have men and women on the team, and this shit rocks. Like, it's fun. Everyone's having a good time. No one cares if someone trans either way joins the team. You're just, like, a good athlete. There are so many incredibly mediocre trans athletes that have an incredibly mediocre performance. I think, well, actually, there's so many. There's, like, 4. And it was every single headline for 18 months. And it's like, you're talking 4 people who were not making it out of the sticks here, pal.
Yeah. Do you want to continue on to...
Yeah, let's get to bike lanes. The most important story. The only story that really matters in the world right now.
I gotta say something to bike lanes. And the fucking Eglinton LRT thing. At what point
is it going to be... making fun of me for posting in the group chat?
Yeah, exactly. At what point is it going to be a fell for it again award? Like, what are we talking about? Like, this Eglinton shit is not happening. The bike lanes are going.
Okay, but you say that in literally breaking news as of today, the Superior Court of Ontario ruled that Doug Ford's attempt to remove bike lanes in the city of Toronto were unconstitutional.
Mm-hmm. Shout out.
Because specifically, the cycling group had filed a suit on constitutional grounds, specifically on, I can't remember what section of the Constitution it is, but the Canadian Constitution guarantees life, liberty, and safety of person. And they filed this suit specifically along the safety of person grounds, that removing these bike lanes would cause deaths due to traffic accidents, which the government was not able to prove that this wouldn't be the case in the lawsuit, and specifically such that at one point the government had this highway engineering firm on retainer to do studies, and this highway engineering firm had advised the province, hey, removing the bike lanes in the city of Toronto, 1, will probably not will have a very negligible difference on traffic, and 2, cause more deaths. So the main thing here isn't to take away that you have a constitutional right to bicycles. It's that the provincial government failed to prove to the court that it was that removing these bike lanes would have like greater impacts, and like it was basically the government couldn't prove that removing the bike lanes would have any real benefit.
Right. Yeah, we've gone into this probably 17 times on the show to Nana's chagrin or whatever. But
okay, let me make it clear
you have to understand,
audience.
Bloor Street bike lanes and the Eglinton Crosstown are the only 2 things that matter in the world. If they do not happen, I'm leaving the fucking country.
I want to make it clear to the audience. Maybe...
If you're a cyclist, he hates you.
Okay, yeah.
Man who doesn't drive and cycles everywhere.
I literally cycle more than any one of these people, okay?
That's because you're a downtown elite.
I am a downtown elite,
who has a million different cycle lanes in the downtown core.
And a lot of options. But...
We're still recording, right?
I'll
just chuck that out. Stray, what were you saying?
Just cut it out. Yeah, Stray, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say this is what's gonna happen. They're gonna remove the bike lanes. The province is already removing them, right? Even though it's not constitutional, or whatever.
No, they aren't. They aren't removing bike lanes right now.
They are?
No,
that was the decision, is that the removal of bike lanes was unconstitutional because it doesn't help anything and actively kills people.
And the province hasn't started removing them either.
Oh, I haven't started. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind then.
What was your plan though? Like they should just finish the job.
Well, I was gonna say they're probably gonna finish the job, and then a new mayor is gonna be elected, and it's gonna realize, well, it's not worth it, and just that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Well, okay. So 2 things on that matter. Even though the mayoral election is like a year from now, there was like a poll recently that said if an election happened right now, Olivia Chow would win.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this is kind of like the incumbency bias local politics has, where everyone can't really be asked to like vote for a new person until they're like absolutely sick and tired of the old guy.
Yeah.
And in this case, this poll also showed Olivia Chow, I think, beating John Tory if he were to join the race.
Yeah.
Which was significant.
I want to see her do the
because like the suburban Hitlerites that live in the city loved John Tory.
I want to see him. I want to see her do to Tory what Mamdani did to Cuomo. Just get these fucking sex pests.
Did you guys talk about in a previous episode what's happening with Toronto housing? Like the entire refusal to build houses and the fight that's happening between the feds and the city?
We haven't. We ran out of time on that one. Well, I still got more for this.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's we've also recently, the mayor in Halifax said he was going to use like strong mayor powers to get rid of bike lanes and stuff like that. I believe the same thing happened in Vancouver, and I forget if it also happened in Calgary. It's been happening in like all major cities across Canada. Is a bunch of bike lanes are getting built, and then some Hitlerite comes out there and is like, let's remove bike lanes. Yes, by the way, if you're anti-bike lane, that's how I'm referring to you for the rest of your life. And then every single time recently, it's getting shot down. And that's like a big relief because our streets are pretty freaking horrible and it can just be so much better.
Yeah.
I know on King Street, they had cars and streetcars. And then there were a whole bunch of plans on how to develop King Street to make it better so that there would be like bike lanes, still a lane of traffic, and dedicated streetcar lanes. And then all of the suburban like city councilors and all of that came out there and said, no, we need on-street parking. You don't understand. We won't do any trees. We won't do any grass. You're not allowed to get rid of any lanes of traffic. We're just going to block cars from going on it. And guess what? It now carries significantly more people. The only change is that they removed cars. So because of how much faster the streetcars goes, the capacity of the street has been raised. Also, people just bike and shit on there now because there are no cars. Yeah. So it's become a major corridor for that. But because all the councilors decided they hate everything, it is one of the ugliest streets I have ever seen. It looks straight out of like a post-apocalyptic film. There's just concrete barriers. They got rid of all patios for the restaurants and all of that. It's just like the counselors showed up, made everything worse for fun, and then still won't use it.
I think it reminded me about the strong mayoral powers because Chow has that. She has that right now.
And she hasn't really used them.
She hasn't done shit with it. Like,
I mean, I think because she kind of... Wait, Trey, unless you have any more details on this, if she has used them or not, I think she specifically said in the lead up to the election that she wasn't going to use them.
Yes, she did.
What's that?
But it's I think at the very least a credit to her.
Wait, this is the credit to her?
In specifically, like, I'm not going to use strong mayor powers, and she hasn't used them. Even though I think maybe it's like not necessarily the best idea, she's stuck by her word.
The thing is that
she has
left liberals are...
Okay, wait. Trey, you said you had a comment? She hasn't?
No, she hasn't. But what I was saying was she has a tool. It's a legal tool. There's no issue with using it, but she refuses to use it, and the city's getting worse.
See, left liberals are addicted to losing. There's nothing that pleases them more than a principled loss.
Losing on their own terms.
Yeah. They would rather lose than win, even if it means they win.
As long as they go out not swinging. Yeah. I have a feeling what's going to happen.
As long as they go out not swinging, exactly.
I have a feeling what's going to end up happening, especially with Doug moving up to like well, he's now provincial and then potentially prime minister. Who knows? We've bounced that idea around.
We've bounced that idea around.
It's probably
and
not,
the idea
but
is
we'll
Doug does not want to give up his 1,000-year Ontario Reich.
Honestly, him.
He is very parochial in that regard. He loves regionalism and like localism in regards to politics. He loves being at like the smaller level.
Yeah.
He loves having his own fief. He loves he loves to try and imitate he loves to be the Ontario Huey Long, but with no attempt at any sort of racial social
justice. Yeah.
I think if he was prime minister, he would be too exposed to people hating on him in a way that he wouldn't like. I think it's too much hate coming his way. But what I think is going to happen is we'll have strong prime minister powers, strong premier powers, and strong mayor powers. And the mayors will be like, the premier will be like, I want to remove these bike lanes. And everyone will say no. And they'll go, but I'm going to use strong premier powers. And then the mayor is going to say, well, I'm going to keep them using strong mayor powers. And then we're going to have to go through a whole process to defer to the strong prime minister powers in order to resolve everyone's strong powers. And I think we're just going to get into a nightmare of everyone having full veto power of everyone else. And that's the only way decisions are going to be made from now on. Unilaterally, but with 3 unilaterals.
This is a funny, you're saying this. The prime minister they're passing bills to give them strong prime ministerial powers.
Yeah.
Doug Ford is passing Bill 5 to give him strong premier powers. And the mayor already has strong mayor powers. This is already existing as a situation.
It's all coming together. All right. What is the economic mode of fascism, right? What is the economic mode of fascism?
Social democracy.
Corporatism.
Same thing.
Which is social democracy.
Okay. It is the state stepping in to be the primary method of the discipline of labor. All right? Mm-hmm. That's where I'm going to stake my claim.
So you're saying that all modern capitalist states are inherently fascistic?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to say that that's a bad take.
I think it's they'll do the thing where they defer to markets and stuff like that and regulate, but when it comes in with things like the government constantly breaking up unions, they take a step further in that direction, and we've seen that. And I think all we're going to get is farther and farther down that pathway, which is just the rising fascism that everyone says is happening for varying reasons. That's my kind of watchdog for fascism, is when the state does all the disciplining of labor and says, oh yeah, you can't raise wage, you can't raise your wages, you cannot protest, you cannot strike.
Yeah.
You will do as we assign as opposed to as we mediate.
So can I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I feel like one of the reasons why the governments are going that direction is because right now everything moves so slowly. We aren't building anything ever.
Yeah.
And whenever we do want to build something, we let some third-party company do it who has a profit incentive. So they might do it, they might not. They might change their mind halfway through the project. We've seen this so many times with housing development pipelines, etc. So it's getting to the point where, because we keep waiting for someone else to do something, we're waiting for the government to get more and more powerful to start doing it on their own, but they just won't.
Yes.
So it becomes a weird downward cycle.
Yeah, they won't because they can't, because they're claiming to be capitalists who have to use the private system and markets. So they're deliberately trying to gain more power while never having their power because it needs to go to profit. And that's all they have, which is why we are central planning heads broadly, I think a bunch of us here.
Yeah. The funny thing about this Doug Ford thing is I think Doug Ford becoming the federal leader would be a good thing for Ontario. And because I don't think anyone can match his skill at turning serious political scandals into goofy mistakes. And it's kind of like a Trump thing. People just don't have what he has, apparently, to keep just swaying away and batting away the scandals as they come through.
He's had major scandal after major scandal, and he will say like, "Oh, I'm going to destroy everything nice about everyone's life," and the next day it'll be like, "Did you guys see Olivia Chow coughed on stage?"
Yeah.
And like everyone just moves
Forgets
on.
about it. Yeah, yeah. Real quick on the Ford, I wanted to just bring up real quick that the NDP decided that by next April, I think it is, they're gonna have a new federal leader, and as of now, I think there's less than 10, more than 5 people who are seeming like they want to throw their hat in the ring for that, and only one is a name that's actually recognizable to Canadians, and it's Yves Angla. I don't know how you say his name, but the guy who
He's not. No one knows who that guy is.
Are you serious, bro? They like I sent you. I sent y'all the.
You have to remember, we have a podcast where we are effectively political ghouls.
Well, here's the thing. Like, he's the only one who's had like it was a bad. Essentially, he got arrested because he wrote something that was too.
He was arrested for speech, basically.
Yeah.
In regards to, like basically having like a fucking Twitter conversation online with some crazy Zionist Canadian.
Yeah, and that got a lot. Well, not in the right terms, but that got a lot of attention because people were calling him anti-Semitic, essentially. But so he's recognizable in the wrong way, perhaps. But I can't think of anyone. Maybe you can like shoot out a name or something. I can't think of anyone else. I know Heather McPherson.
I was gonna say Heather McPherson,
but that's just like who knows Heather McPherson?
Barely.
Spencer, you know her?
Yeah, barely.
I'm 1 sec.
She's good on Palestine.
She's the foreign critic for the NDP right now, but there's only like 7 NDP people in the entire country.
Yeah. She's good on Palestine, but not much else, which is par for the course for the NDP.
No, I got the wrong McPherson.
Yeah, it's all good. But anyway, like whoever they choose, I think at this point we can safely say like they're not gonna, unless they do something miraculous and choose someone who is like, I hate keep referencing him, but he pulled off like an insane victory in New York, like a Mamdani type, who can actually like sway politics to, or sway the party's politics to the proper side that it's meant to be. I don't think they have any shot of winning anything, of improving anything. Like NDP is dead.
Well, it's been a week.
Huh?
It's been a week. It's been like a week or two of the race being officially open.
Yeah, I'm saying I can't imagine anyone who can summon enough like if they do end up winning a leadership race, I can't imagine someone like them picking someone with enough fucking swag, enough fucking like
Well, we'll see, because a lot of the time, especially with these types of things,
enough Riz, maybe?
Oh no! Stop.
Yeah, a lot of the time people will end up like picking up steam later in the race,
Yeah,
as they like figure out their as they figure out, like you said, their swag or their Riz or whatever, as they figure out how to navigate all of that and like fill it in, get comfortable with it, and then hopefully stand on like. I really hope the NDP has someone who is like actually like stands on business about their shit. I hope we don't get like a limp NDP again.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like even the guy who won, even Mark Carney doesn't have that. Like he won based off of how much a big part of why he won was how much people fucking hate the other guy. Yeah. Like it's
his resume is crazy. I feel like that's another reason why he won.
Okay, that's fair. And we were in a particular circumstance that boosted his popularity in that situation. That's fair. But
there's a couple of names I'm thinking for the Democrats who could be very good. I just don't know if they want to run.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, we know the best names.
Okay, I had a brain blast halfway through that.
Speaking of people who've had a brain blast.
Fuck becoming the 51st state. Every province and territory becomes its own state. Can we swindle Ontario becoming 63rd?
63rd what? Oh,
state?
Wow.
No, because if the United States annexed Canada, we would not be a state. We'd be like a unorganized territory like Guam or something.
We'd be one of those like colonial
I
entities
tried
the
doing
U.S.
something,
has.
man. I tried doing something
At
here.
best,
It's
we'd
just
be
And even if they
Rico.
did annex us, we would be
Yeah.
the 60th, wouldn't we?
Okay, speaking of people being limp, that was my attempt at saying something funny. Thinking of brain blasts, Bennett, you're up.
Speaking of brain blast, that was a brain fart.
Now, up next, I'm about to peddle a possibly dangerous conspiracy theory with presumably no basis in reality. But
Those are the best kinds.
if you follow the news, you may be aware of a mass shooting that occurred in New York at the headquarters of the National Football League, which also happens to be in the same building as the headquarters of a subsidiary of Blackstone, one of the evil private equity and real estate speculation companies that has been slowly destroying the world.
Although not to be confused with the much larger private equity firm
Yes.
BlackRock.
BlackRock controls $13 trillion in assets. Blackstone, only a mere $1 trillion US dollars.
Also,
Yeah.
wait, is
BlackRock and Blackstone are very different. Don't get it twisted, but functionally, they're the same.
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
They're rivals, basically. They're not the same.
Okay, but is like, why the fuck did Blackstone call themselves that? Are they piggybacking off BlackRock?
No, they actually were. They popped off around the same time in the 80s. While I was researching this article, I found out Blackstone is a pun on the last names of its founders, which were Schwartzman, Black, Schwartz,
Yeah.
and Peter Peterson, I think was the other guy's name.
Fake.
Something like that. Where
Huh?
his last name, Peter Petros,
Yeah.
Stone.
Yeah.
Schwartz, Petros, Blackstone.
These dudes
Schwartz means
were
Blackstone?
fucking dorks.
Yeah.
Especially the
BlackRock,
Peter dude.
It was founded around the same time. I don't remember why it was called BlackRock. But yeah, they're different companies. Blackstone is named after its founders, not BlackRock. So Blackstone, major private equity company, huge player in generic evil activities. I'll just read out some stuff they've been accused of. Blackstone Inc. I'm just going to go straight to the Wikipedia controversies page because it sums it up pretty well. Okay, we'll continue.
Liam has transitioned.
Here we go. Blackstone controversies. Just to give you the scope of the evil stuff they do. Warrantless disclosure of Motel 6 occupancies is number one. In separate cases in 2018 and then 2019, the hotel chain Motel 6, owned and operated by Blackstone, agreed to settle for $19.6 million for giving guest lists to U.S. ICE without a warrant.
Holy
just for the hell of it.
just because they love it.
Yeah.
They love
of
doing
the
what they're
game.
doing.
Holy shit.
Illegal
Motel
child-
6, my beloved, is working for ICE.
Yes. Illegal child labor accusation. An investigation by the U.S. Department of Labor showed that more than 100 American children had been working illegally for PSSI, Packers Sanitation Services, Inc., a slaughterhouse cleaning firm owned by Blackstone. The investigation began after a Walnut Middle School teacher, so this is a 12-year-old kid, in Grand Island, Nebraska, reported a student with hydrochloric acid chemical burns on his hands and knees to the Department of Labor. Under the FLSA, Fair Labor Standards Act, the Labor Department fined PSSI $15,000 per minor employed in breach of the law, totaling $1.5 million in penalties. And then, of course, it's a private equity group. Direct investment in deforestation of the Amazon.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Oh my God.
This, not to defend here, if you have like $1 million sitting in a bank somewhere, everyone is involved with deforesting the Amazon. Every company, every investment firm, literally, if you have money and you're not invested in the deforestation of the Amazon, I would be shocked.
Now, Blackstone is a private equity firm and an evil corporation that has accumulated a lot of enemies over the years, both normal people that it has victimized and other private equity firms. Now, here's the conspiracy theory I have. I think the mass shooter who accidentally killed a Blackstone exec instead of Roger Goodell, the NFL chairman, was engaging in a targeted hit. That's my conspiracy theory. Mm-hmm. So here's the events that happened.
By BlackRock.
Could be by BlackRock, could be by anyone else.
Oh, I see what you mean. What the fuck?
So here's the events as it occurred. A man who played football in high school. Now, he played football throughout high school. He also played at running back. If you're not familiar with football, running backs get hit a lot and hard. Their job is to run through the defensive line, and they're usually the shortest guys on the team. So it's a combo of the smallest guys on a football team running directly into the largest guys on the football team.
Yeah, your head is perfectly positioned at shoulder level.
Yeah. So 50% of high school players who play all 4 years get CTE. This mass shooter claims that he had CTE. He did not play football past high school. I'm just saying it is entirely possible he had CTE. However, preliminary reports are that he actually did not have CTE. He just had normal schizophrenia. He blamed the NFL for him acquiring CTE. He has no connection to the NFL.
This is very CTE core, though, I must say.
It is very CTE core. He had acquired a concealed carry weapons permit and then purchased a gun. He then went to the office building this was in, killed the receptionist, then shot the NFL logo in the lobby just a bunch of times, which, first of all, crazy thing to do, but is very funny.
Yeah. No, not the NFL logo.
So he kills the receptionist and then an NYPD officer who happened to just be in the building. Then he goes to the elevators. Instead of going to the elevator marked for NFL, he goes to the Blackstone elevator, goes into the Blackstone office, and then kills 2 Blackstone employees, an intern and a high-level executive at Blackstone, who happened to be visiting the office that day. He then kills himself. His suicide note instructs authorities to study his brain for evidence of CTE.
And very notably in killing himself, he did not shoot himself in the head.
Yes, which is a classic CTE.
Wait, so where did he shoot himself?
Heart.
Oh.
Most people who kill themselves because of CTE do not shoot themselves in the head. Most want their brain to be studied.
Sorry, you're going to have to say that again. The glitch happening.
So most people who kill themselves because of CTE don't shoot themselves in the head because they want their brain to be studied.
Because
right?
the only way to diagnose CTE is by studying your brain after
Gotcha.
you died.
Yes, because the only definitive proof that someone has CTE instead of normal dementia or schizophrenia or any other thing that could cause CTE symptoms is to do a brain biopsy.
Okay.
So this guy set out to punish the NFL for allegedly giving him CTE, even though he has no association with them, has never played pro football. And to be clear, the NFL does have some responsibility for CTE in high school because they set the rules and stuff for football, right?
I think in a roundabout way, like, the only reason high school football, or a big part of the reason high school football is such a big deal that draws a lot of people in, is the promise of the NFL.
Yeah, that is true.
I guess the NCAA and then the NFL.
Yes. So he blamed the NFL for his alleged CTE, which is still unconfirmed. But he, in doing this, killed nobody associated with the NFL.
Yeah.
Did kill an executive at a private equity firm just by accident.
Yeah.
Now, I'm saying it's entirely possible he had so much CTE he just got in the wrong elevator. And then got lucky killing a CEO. Or targeted hit. I'd say watch the bank accounts of his loved ones, because he may have been looking to kill himself because of legitimate CTE, and then let's just say maybe, I'm not going to name the private equity firm that could have done it because I don't want us to get sued, but let's just say maybe their family will receive a large check in the mail.
I'm going to go deeper, all right? I'm going to go even deeper than you. This guy played football.
Yeah.
Loves football, right? And he was like, wow, you know what made my childhood so good? All that football that I played that unfortunately gave me CTE. What has happened in youth sports in America recently? They've been bought out by private equity. Okay?
Oh my God.
And he thought, dang, I didn't make my shot, but now this guarantees that no one will make their shot. I think he might be the most class-conscious man alive.
Okay, now I have a conspiracy theory that goes even shallower than that, which is that he does have CTE, and it was indirectly caused by the NFL, and the NFL is covering it up, saying he doesn't have CTE, to make him look like just some like lunatic schizo.
And since
Who
he
made
does
up a
have
vaccine.
CTE,
I
no
think
one
he
will
has
believe him.
CTE, and the NFL is covering it up to make it be like, oops,
Now,
not our fault.
Okay.
well, now whether or not this man did actually engage in a hit, and I am only 90% joking, whether or not he engaged in a hit, the news coverage of the death of this executive officer for Blackstone has annoyed me, because remember all that stuff I told you where they were immersing children in hydrochloric acid and like engaging in the Latino genocide that is ongoing in the United States? All the headlines about the Blackstone exec killed were slain Blackstone executive was a mentor to woman and a leader at work.
Damn.
Nana,
Wow.
Nana, this
She
is
Girlboss
the line
too
I
close
found.
to the gun.
Wait, sorry. Sorry,
About her.
Sherry, say again.
All I can say is rip Bozo, pack watch.
Yeah.
Hope they get the rest of the C-suite next time.
Okay, there was this. Just drop kicked my mic. There was a reporting, I forget which news network it was, that went out there and said, and notice how he didn't run away like Luigi Mangione. And I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean?
Okay, this guy allegedly did not intend to kill this executive.
I think they're just trying to throw extra shade at Luigi Mangione. They accidentally forgot that the best thing they could try to do is make everyone forget about what's happening with Luigi Mangione.
Yeah.
They accidentally brought Luigi Mangione up and being like, could he have motivated another killing of a high-tech executive? Or high-position executive?
A lot of people are like, it's so tragic this executive died. What about the other two working class people and the cop he killed?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the intern, imagine being an intern at the Evil Corp and you die on your first day.
Yeah. Rest in peace. Anyway, T's and P's, thoughts and prayers.
To the intern and the receptionist.
To the receptionist.
The people
that's a tough
who,
spot.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, did you see the message I sent?
Yeah.
Where they call the executive of of Blackstone, for all intents, leader of a startup inside Blackstone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
we should do this to
What startup was she doing? Was it the child labor one? The Amazon deforestation one? Was it the deportation startup?
Property, rent evictions, actually, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a startup with a mere 5,000 employees, raking in $800 trillion a second.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
it was just a startup. It was
The fucking startup.
It was just a fucking kid.
Oh man. Nah, you're right. Like, definitely, I didn't realize they were calling companies like this a fucking startup. Are you crazy? Oh man.
All right, thanks for listening, y'all.
Wait, you want to cut
Wait.
it there?
Oh,
I don't know, we got
one
more?
last thing. Today's July 30th. I wanted to celebrate a great Canadian hero whose birthday was on July 28th.
Oh, no.
We miss you, Terry Fox.
Anyways, that's the end of the episode. we're gonna peace out, everyone. We don't need to hear anything more about
I knew it was
that.
coming the moment he said birthday.
All right, thanks for listening, y'all. Have a good
Bye.
one.